Hello and welcome to the 22Q podcast. My name is Becky White, and today on this episode, we get to speak with Amy Jolley, a mother, yoga teacher, social emotional learning and mindfulness educator, experienced child and family therapist, and a lover of people and Mother Earth. She has a Master's of Arts in Transpersonal Counseling Psychology, and within this episode, she shares her passion for igniting others' light through her business, The Wellness Collective. Her belief is that we all come into this world with an incredible light. When she works with adults, Amy is trying to reignite that light within them. And when she works with children, she really wants to keep that light alive and bright. So through The Wellness Collective, she is helping one family at a time become more aware and in tune with their emotional well-being. Amy has already helped a few 22Q families I know of, so I wanted to share her gifts with all of you. So I'm honored to introduce you to Amy Jolley. Welcome to the 22Q podcast. My name is Becky White, and today I'm really excited about this episode. I was able to meet our guest today, Amy Jolley, at the 22Q Moms Retreat this past year. She came and spoke to all the mothers about social emotional awareness and how she was able to educate a few of the Q families' children all about social emotional awareness and working through our feelings. Right when I saw her at the retreat, I said, this is someone I would love to have on the podcast. Her energy and just her spirit is wonderful, and I can't wait for you to meet her. So Amy Jolley is a mother, a yoga teacher, a social emotional learning and mindfulness educator, experienced child and family therapist, and a lover of people and Mother Earth. So Amy, welcome, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Becky. I am so delighted to be here today and to share more about my passion. Right now, I have a business, and as you mentioned, I had the opportunity to come out to the Moms Retreat, which was an incredible, beautiful experience. And I was so honored to be a part of that. My business right now supports mental health and well-being for women, children, families, and couples. I'm the owner of the business. My background is master's in counseling psychology with a big lens on trauma-informed and looking at mind, body, and spirit connected, looking at the whole child and the whole person. And I think you shared some of my other things, my background as a yoga instructor, social emotional learning awareness, mindfulness, and meditation practitioner. So thank you.
Yeah. Tell us about the Wellness Collective and for women and children. Like, tell me about how this came about. What was your journey like? Was yoga first and then you created the Wellness Collective? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's been a journey. I was kind of reflecting on that before thinking about speaking today, and I realized I've been about 15 years in the mental health field. So I would say that I first went to my graduate program where I knew that after time of working with children and families in different capacities that I really wanted to hone in on helping women and children and families at a deeper, more intricate emotional level. So my study started in San Francisco at a beautiful school known as California Institute of Integral Studies, right in the heart of San Francisco. And that's where everything started and was evolving from. I had the pleasure and delight of living on the Hawaiian Islands for a little while. And that's where I got to do a year-long yoga training program. So really immersed in the practice and bringing that into my everyday daily life. So I would say over the past 6 years, there's just been like an evolution and evolving of the business that I now have, and really honing in on my small community here, and then the hope to reach a greater community across the U.S. And being able to bring this creation of mine, the Wellness Collective Women and Children, to as many families as possible.
That's wonderful. I mean, can you think of a more beautiful place to study yoga than the Hawaiian Islands? My gosh, that must have been amazing.
It really was. And it was really supportive because I think halfway through my training, I was pregnant with my son too.
Oh,
So it was
wow.
really nice to be in that community of like-minded people. And then, yeah, in Hawaii, it was really magical.
That's great. And I just have so much respect for you. And because you had this idea, you had this vision, and you went for it. And you're now helping so many families and children and women about these really, really important topics about social emotional awareness and much more. So I just want to say congrats and keep
Oh,
going, because it's great work that you're doing and needed, so needed. But I'd love for you to, also share a little bit about you and, what do you enjoy? What really makes your heart happy?
well, we had a little morning conversation, but my heart is so happy in nature. And I always prescribe, I put that in quotes for the families I work with too. It can just be so healing. And I have loved living in many different places where I've experienced just the beauty of nature. So anytime I can get outside and experience that just on my own or with family or with a collective group of women, I love being outside in nature.
Where's the most beautiful place you've ever been in nature that took your breath away and you thought to
Yeah,
yourself, man, this is heaven?
yeah, probably Hawaii. Seeing the mountains there just takes your breath away. And the ocean too, but the mountains are just so massive and they're just so lush. So I think that would probably be it.
So what island were you on?
I was on the island of Oahu, and I did go there to work with the Department of Education and Behavioral Health. I spent some time doing that, but I really felt like I wanted to reach more people and be able to do it in my own way, with supporting families and communities out there. So that's when my business first kind of took place. It looked really different then, and it's evolved into what it is today. But that's what brought me out there, was helping kids in within the education schools.
That's great. Great. Thank
Yeah.
you. And, let's dive into what you do. And for some of our audience members, just to clarify, I wanted to ask this question, what is social emotional awareness?
Yeah, absolutely. It encompasses a lot of our ability to connect with others is the framework for it, but the ability to be able to identify and articulate feelings and emotions, also the ability to then identify and empathize with others' emotions, that ability to help support regulate our own emotions and have really helpful coping tools to do so. I also think it involves just increasing our own self-awareness and being able to learn tools that help us communicate most effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that kind of encompasses the many aspects of having and learning that social and emotional awareness.
Right. And when you are, say, for example, teaching a child about this topic, how do you teach a child about this difficult topic and concept? Even adults have a hard time with social emotional awareness. How do you
Absolutely.
even start?
I want to say that I do work very intuitively with especially children. Children present themselves as is when they come into my space, or if I see them out in a group or whatever it is. And so I really have practiced over the years, and some of my meditation and yoga experience has helped me to just ground more into my own intuitive knowing, so that I can really be aware of who they are in the room, and just allowing the child to show me how they will learn best. And sometimes it takes a little creativity to do that. But I use many different modalities. I do use a social emotional learning curriculum known as Kimochis, and that has many different tools that can just be weaved into the time together. But then I also use mindfulness practices, meditation practices, yogic breath work, and other methods of yoga practices. And then art, play. So just really allowing the child. I'm so grateful right now. I have this really amazing space that kids can come to, and there's just play and art and yoga things, and they can kind of come in and be curious and be spontaneous in their ability to start learning.
That's wonderful. I'd love to see that space. And when you do start to educate children about this topic, what do you find the best way to introduce it, whether it's the kimochis, I'm going to say that wrong, kimochis, or breathing techniques? Like, how do you start this process? Is it just a discussion? Is it to see what kind of questions they have? Or is it because maybe the child has had some sort of either really big feelings that they've expressed, and then now the parent wants to take them and have them talk to someone and work through these emotions and understand what these emotions are? Like, how do you start that process?
Yeah, I feel like it's a little different for every child. And I do work with teens too. So that obviously looks a lot different, or when I work with adult women or couples, but I'll kind of speak more to our younger children for this conversation. It generally starts with letting them know that I'm a feeling helper, and I let them know that we all have feelings. Everybody has feelings and they love to be shared and talked about. So I want kids to know that wherever they're meeting me, it's a safe space, and whatever maybe they've heard within their family system or at school, I really want them to know that sentence, feelings love to be talked about, they love to be shared. And then sometimes I say, we're going to do some fun games and activities, and we're going to learn more, and I'm your feeling helper, and I see what kids are drawn to. But I generally tend to start out with either helping them with a little breathing practice or some of the kimochi's tools. Sometimes a little art if I have a child that seems drawn to that. So it's hard to give one answer because every child is so unique, and I'm really mindful, and I observe, and I do a lot of conversation and communication with the parents too, so they can share as much about their child's temperament and personality, and to really try to honor how they learn and how they're most comfortable in the space, and that they feel safe.
That does make sense that each child would be different. And I think that's so important to say, because we live in a society, especially around education, that it's like one mold for all the kids, and it's just not working. I think that's great that you do individualize it for each kid, because that's what you have to do.
Yeah. And I really, in this practice too, a lot of it is about working with the family and the parents. Sometimes I work with the whole family, or with a parent and a child, or just with the child, but I really strive to help parents to really see who their kiddo is. So we're just helping them observe and notice, what is their temperament? How do they receive love from you best? What is their, unfolding personality? And really to take that one-to-one time with them. I call it special time, that you play with your kid to observe and really honor who they are, so that we can be on that same plane together, seeing them what I think is in their most beautiful, authentic light.
Right. And for anyone that's listening that may be thinking, emotions just happen and kids learn to deal with them. Why is this such a big deal? Why is it important to regulate and be aware of your emotions, especially for kids, and helping your kids or your children work through emotions?
Yeah, that's such a big question, an important question. I think just at the top of it, the ability to regulate emotions, identify and name your emotions, helps promote like a greater sense of self. A child, or whoever we're talking about, your self-confidence and just your overall well-being. I think it honors all of that. And that being able to regulate your emotions impacts both your body and your mind. Always keeping that in mind, that if we want to call it mental health, concerns that come up are usually connected to our body. So if I can help children name their feelings, share them, talk about them, notice where they feel them in their body, we have less of what we sometimes see in adults, of this disconnection between that logical brain and that body. So really continuing to allow children to be in their bodies as they experience the feelings and the emotions. It also, as they learn emotion regulation tools, it helps calm their nervous system. and just provides a sense of groundedness and calm, which we know if we think about ourselves, when we feel in that space versus a dysregulated space, it just feels better. And we know when we're in the dysregulated space, it can lead to other things, whether we're having trouble sleeping or we're having trouble with some physical health things. So it's all very connected. And then I just feel like the more that we're present in our bodies, the more that we are in the moment, we are more connected to our authentic self. And we can be most present for ourselves and in relationship with others as well, which if we kind of think about these experiences of feeling connected in our relationships or feeling that sense of calm and groundedness versus feeling disconnected in relationships or dysregulated, most of us can go, oh, I like the other one better. So I love helping kids and families feel in that space that you feel really wonderful and great in your body versus the other. And although there are times that those big feelings come up and we will feel some of those discomforts, it's great to know that there's the feeling helper out there and that your parents are on board, that all feelings are okay, that feelings love to be shared and talked about. I think that answered your question.
Yeah, no, that was great. And it just makes me think, while you were talking, I was just thinking to myself, like, why wasn't this around sooner? Like, why couldn't my parents have done this for me growing up and just made myself, not even talking about anybody, but just myself, more aware of my emotions? And when you're feeling this way, this is what you should do. Or when you're feeling this, this is what you should do. Recognizing emotion and not ignoring emotion, which many families may have faced as well, and not talking about emotions and, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. We don't talk about that. I'm sure I'm not the only person out there saying these things. I'm sure some of our listeners are saying, yes, no, I grew up in a house like that. And I just think it's wonderful that this is getting talked about. And I just wish it was more accessible to, I'm over on the East Coast, you're over in Arizona. So if a family is listening to this and they are from maybe another country, what are some easy tips to start this process of just guiding your child, whether they're 2 or 3 or whether they're a teen, on talking about emotions, recognizing our emotions, and when they should probably see someone for professional help?
Yeah, I do want to say, just to answer your first question, that after coming to the moms retreat, it really opened my eyes in connecting with moms from kind of across the country, that I opened up some more virtual opportunities. So I have been supporting kids virtually and doing some moms groups as well. So that is available. But for families to get started, I think some of the work too is for parents, if they're listening, and families, if they're listening, to reflect and think about what you just spoke about. How were feelings allowed in your household, or how were you taught about this, or how were you not taught about this? And I think that a lot of us have that commonality of what you spoke about. And so I think it's important for families and parents to kind of reflect on their own experience, because sometimes we're almost breaking like a generational trauma cycle, in the sense that, and I could go on about this a lot, but I'll try to be quick. We have that big T and little t traumas, and a trauma for someone is not feeling heard in their emotional experience and having that, like you said, oh, everything's okay, oh, you don't feel mad, is a trauma. So if we are parents that experienced in that way, it's really important to look at how we experience that, and then how that's showing up in our parent-child relationship. And really having that awareness is a really beautiful step one, because we can go, that was my experience, and I'm not sure how to give my child another experience, and I want to get help with that. Or B, I know I want to give my child another experience, and here's how I'm going to do it. So I think that's a really important reflection, and to be gentle with yourself in that journey, because these are big traumas that have taken away our own authentic light as individuals. So I think it's important to be gentle and just to notice and to be aware of all of that as you move into saying, hey, we're a family that loves talking about feelings. We share our feelings, we talk about them, and adapting that language that might feel very different from what your family dynamics were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important. And then I think families can start in many places. I love emotion and feeling books for some of our younger kids. It's a way to kind of help families along too. If you don't know where to get started as a parent, there's just incredible literature out there that helps the child either put themselves in the place of the character in the story, or some of them teach skills. So I love that as a start. I love sharing that parents can cultivate a gratitude practice is a really great way just to help families be connected in communication and relationship. If families want to try to explore and practice meditation or mindfulness, these are all things, practice yoga, engaging in family time together. And these are all things that continue to nurture the relationships within the family. Mindfulness helps us take a pause and notice these feelings that we experience or have in our bodies. So these are just kind of all ideas that help us become more connected as a family.
And tell me more about the gratitude. What would you say? It was gratitude journal
Yeah,
or gratitude time?
just cultivating a family tradition around gratitude. There's been so much research done that supports gratitude and how that can increase mental health to some degree and overall well-being. So I love to encourage families to cultivate a way that they practice gratitude. It might be that every night before dinner, you go around and you share, I am grateful for. It might be at the end of the night, this is another one, it's called The Rose and the Thorn. So you share the best part about the day and like the tricky, most challenging, and you share what you're grateful for. Sometimes families do like a little gratitude bar or a little bowl or jar that you might put gratitude in, or create a tree on the wall, or any way that families want to get creative. But when we share what we're grateful for, especially at the end of a day that had some tricky moments, we build that connection with one another again, and we can kind of see the positive in the day, and ending our day in that way or starting in our day in that way can really help support well-being.
I love that. I'm going to do that. We already did the one good, one bad, but we never added the grateful. Like, what are you grateful for? I like that. I'm going to add that.
And I know with myself, I'm trying to be consistent, but I'm not always with my family. And then kind of comes up around that Thanksgiving time that we remember the thankfulness and gratitude. So I try to remind parents of it, and myself too, like in the summertime and other times, on the start of the school year when things can be tricky. So it's a great practice.
That's great. Thank you. All very easy and all very possible things to do with your family to just stop that cycle and talk about emotions. And from your perspective, from your personal opinion, why is this so important for children's overall health and well-being? Like, why is it important to talk about our emotions and be heard?
Yeah, that's a big question too. I think it's really important as families to reflect, for parents to reflect on their own experience, like I talked about, because we do sometimes carry some of those generational traumas or patterns. And so being this family that's breaking that generational cycle is really huge, and I think important for the whole family system's overall well-being and mental health. I think that having this emotional and social awareness just in general helps us to be our most authentic selves. The more that we can be present to our experiences, to our feelings, to our emotions as a parent, as a child, as a whole family system, we create more positivity in our relationships, more increased mental health and well-being. And as I spoke about before, we know how we feel in our body when we feel grounded and we feel calm and we feel connected to others. And we know the difference when we feel dysregulated and alone or disconnected from others. So the more that children and families can honor this practice, the more we can feel that really lovely, good space in our body and how we show up in the world as well. My belief is that we all come into this world as this incredible light with many gifts. And when I work with adults, sometimes I'm kind of trying to reignite that light within them. When I work with children, I really want to keep that light alive and bright. And so when big feelings come up and children feel dysregulated, and if a teacher or a parent doesn't have a tool to help them feel connected, then children feel really disconnected from that most authentic truth, that authentic self. And I feel that children's evolving personalities and their gifts sometimes get kind of buried. And my hope is to let children show those gifts, let their light be seen and see them for who they truly are. So all people have feelings. Everybody experiences them, and some are trickier than others. So when we do have those hard to have feelings and are feeling dysregulated, to be able to have the tools that keep honoring that child for who they are.
I love it. Thank you. It's a tough question because everyone's different. Everyone's background's different. It is so important to have the tools, and it's just making for a healthier life in the future and to continue that cycle for if they have children and talk about their feelings. I did want to ask, I know that you mentioned that you do have some virtual mom groups through the Wellness Collective. And you did also mention that you do offer private sessions for children virtually, whether you're in Arizona or not, for social emotional awareness education. Is there any other tools through your company that you offer, whether it's different sessions or classes? If someone is in the area near you, what do you offer?
Yes. So I'm having an ongoing parenting group that really speaks to a lot of that self-reflection and then moves it into present moment with your child and tools. So I do have an ongoing virtual parent group. And then for the local moms, it's been really wonderful. We made it this beautiful coffee shop in a private space, and there is a local group for that. And throughout the year, if you are local, I offer opportunities for family yoga, meditation, time to connect with that. And then I do offer the one-to-one sessions that are for individual sessions for children. I do individual sessions, sibling or buddy sessions, and I do that as well for women. I have a business networking group that is local here in Arizona, so supporting women in their businesses. And then I also work with families, so that can be virtually or in person. And I just took on a new lane, helping support couples as well. So helping them to really connect at a deep and meaningful place. And sometimes that moves into parenting tools as well. And I want to say that I'm really excited. I've been helping kids with special needs advocacy with IEPs and 504s and everything that goes along with that in schools. But I'm also doing the training with the 22Q Foundation for the special education advocacy, and then specifically focused on children with 22Q. So I'm really excited to kind of hone in my skills and learn more as well. And that will be an offering too.
Wonderful. And everyone can find your offerings on your website?
Yes, wellnesscollectiveuc.com.
Wonderful. And I'll put all of this in the description of the podcast so people can just click on the description below. Yeah. And check out the website. There is a lot of information and resources, including the kimochis and other tools for your family. And just to learn a little bit more about Amy and all the incredible work she's doing. Are there any other resources? I know you mentioned the feelings and emotion books. Are there any other books or websites that you recommend if you want to start the conversation about talking about feelings with your family and family members?
Yeah, I would definitely say the Kimochi's website, full of free resources and videos and support. And also say if you are on social media, the best way to find out things and learn from me is on my Instagram, which is Wellness Collective WC. I put out parenting videos and sometimes meditations. So some experiential things on there. That's a great tool to check into. And then I will say that I had the honor of meeting an incredible woman here in my community that has a local bookshop. It's called Literally a Bookshop. And she is here local, but you can order online too. But she has really carefully curated books for children that spark joy and curiosity, where children can really relate to the characters in the books. But we really work together. So she has a whole feelings and emotions section, and she works with me to pick out the books, and she's really wonderful at it as well. So I love sharing her as a resource because we've created the feelings and emotions section, and there's also like the yoga and mindfulness too. So I wanted to share that. She's such a wonderful resource.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. What's one children's book that you love that maybe is a story or it actually touches upon emotions? What's one of your favorites?
I love this one. It's called In My Heart. I don't know if you've ever seen this one. Do you have this one?
I've seen it many times. It's adorable.
Yeah, a book of feelings. And so this is probably for maybe some of our youngest kiddos, but I bring this to yoga classes. I pair it with the kimochis, and it just goes through like quite a few feelings. So it's a really good way to introduce some of these feelings and even have it lead into a conversation or play a little game with it. But it's a really beautiful starting point. I love this book.
Yeah. Who is it by?
It's Jo Whittek.
Okay. I'll put that also in the description.
I know she has a few others where it really hones in on brave feelings and different things too. I know there's so many wonderful supportive books.
I know they're getting out. There's so many good ones. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but
I just thought of another one. Breathe Like a Bear, Kira Wiley. This is a great start for meditation.
Okay.
My favorite is Breathe Like a Bear. So it's like mindfulness and meditation. So it's really helpful guide where you can practice and read that one. Right. And she has a lot on, I think, Spotify too, that you can search for her. She has songs and meditations as well. Kira Wiley. I love her. Other thing I'm thinking of too is for yoga practices, I'm going to grab it too. I've been introducing these into like when I do family yoga, I do it with my son all the time. And when I do buddy or sibling sessions, but it's called wildlife yoga. And it's all partner poses. So families can have some fun and do it together. And they're just beautiful, but they all offer a mantra and a connection to nature. So they're all connected to nature. And they give instructions and variations on the back. But there's beautiful mantras like I am peaceful. And they're all connected to nature. So when I saw these, I just loved them so much. Yeah. So I do have a promo code for a discount. I used them for, I did like a mother-daughter goddess circle and we used them. We did them for family yoga. I just used them for a sibling session and so much fun. I love the nature connection. As I said, I love the outdoors.
What do you, out of your work, what brings you the most joy?
Oh, I love what I do. I do love working with the children. They come in, and I'm just thinking about some of the kids this week and I just love seeing them, maybe sometimes come in a little timid, even on my virtual sessions, or a little like apprehensive, as we all would in a new situation, which is a good tool to have. And then just seeing their personality unfold as they become comfortable and they learn the tools and it supports them, and parents are coming back and life is easier and they feel more connected to their children, or their child's doing better in school, or they've created a family ritual, and just that joy and that peace in parents' eyes and children is probably one of the most favorite parts of what I do.
Yeah. You are the most important coach in their life because, some kids have piano and soccer and t-ball, but really the most important thing that they should be learning about are their emotions and how to deal with life, because life is sticky and messy and scary and fun and joyful all at the same time. And no one's immune to it. So I just think the work you're doing is so wonderful, and just keep doing what you're doing. I visualize you. You're like a drop of water going to this giant lake, and you're causing these ripples that are going to help these children and then their families if they have families, and it's just going to continue. So, and it's so, so needed. So thank you so much again for being on today.
It's been such an honor being on here today and reconnecting with you. I think maybe I'll just leave with why, we maybe already touched on this, but just why my work is so important, and that it brings more awareness to mental health, helps families navigate challenging behaviors, supports overall well-being. And I'm just going to say it maybe one more time, but my belief is that we all come into the world with an incredible light, and we all have gifts to share. And I hope to help keep that light within children, keep this light bright and as recognizable as possible so that they can show up as their most authentic selves and share those gifts with the world. And for our parents and for our families, I hope that I help the parents keep that light bright in their child, or reignite that light within themselves as they lead their families in being their most authentic selves, sharing their gifts, and experiencing more joy, peace, and overall well-being. And so that's my hope to put out into the world.
Thank you, Amy. And if anybody would like to contact Amy, you can reach her through her website, which again will be in the description of this podcast. But thank you, Amy. You're a joy, and keep going. I know it's not easy, but keep going. You're doing amazing work. So thank you again for being on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Amy, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Continue to ignite others' light and spread awareness about social emotional well-being. You are doing such important work, and I wish you nothing but the best. For anyone that would like to learn more about Amy's work and the Wellness Collective, you can see her website at the description below in this podcast. Feel free to reach out to her with any questions you might have. If you have any questions for me or are interested on possibly being a guest on the 22Q podcast, feel free to email me at 22qpodcast@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you, and don't forget to share, like, and leave a comment at the bottom of this podcast so we can spread awareness and let the world know about our community. And never forget, 22Q family, that you are not alone.